Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Show Me Your Stack. Today I'm sitting down with Stuart, and I'm really excited to hear what's in Stuart's tech stack and his review. So, Stuart, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Stuart Balcombe. I run Connected GTM, which is a newsletter, sort of educational playbooks for the HubSpot ecosystem. Also advise a whole bunch of app partners in the ecosystem on go-to-market stuff. Previously, out an app partner, sort of all things early stage startup is my jam.
Awesome. Well, welcome and thanks for being here. Let's dive in. What do you have for us at number 5 on your tech stack review?
Number 5, I have the tool that we are currently using, Riverside. Do a fair number of interview style things, and Riverside is really handy when your internet connection sucks. Records locally on both sides of the conversation, so always helpful to be able to get a version of your recording that isn't missing pieces, even if in the moment it doesn't seem like it's connected the best. So Riverside would be at number 5 for me.
Awesome. I love that. I mean, obviously I'm recording on it, use it. I love the transcript and the snippets and just a lot of its functions for production make it really quick and easy. So, all right. What do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I have another video tool, Teller. Teller is one that I've been using for a while. In some regards, it looks similar to like a Loom or something like that. Really easy with Chrome extension to do screen recording type things, but some nice sort of production type stuff on the back end, which is super simple. Zooms, layouts, trimming,
Okay.
clipping, that kind of thing. I've probably been using Teller for 3 years or so now.
Okay.
Yeah, and use it for everything from video that's going to end up on YouTube or on LinkedIn to I'm just sending a quick thing to a client with a walkthrough of something. Yeah, big fan.
That's awesome. That's a loyal tech stack time. 3 years, I'm like, all right, you're
Yeah,
committed then.
yeah.
So, love it. All right. What about 3?
Number 3, we have one that I have actually maybe I am. I feel like I find things that I like and just don't switch. Number 3 is Descript, which
Okay.
I've been using since 2020 or something. So definitely longer
Yeah.
than Teller. But use it probably a little differently than how a lot of folks use it. Use it for a lot for transcription, a lot for clipping things together, highlighting, like making compilations of stuff,
Hmm.
rather than necessarily like hardcore sort of editing. But yeah,
Okay.
text-based editing is really nice, especially when you're trying to build a little more sort of narrative and like editorial type stuff um, in content. So Descript, I primarily use for video actually, even though it's not really a video tool. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
Descript at
cool.
3.
Number 2.
I don't really know. I'm going to give the sort of general like ChatGPT answer
Yes.
here, but
Okay.
yeah, I would say I use ChatGPT or like Claude more recently, but ChatGPT pretty extensively. A lot of like custom GPT type stuff
Right.
where build my own context around things to have sort of a way. I think especially as a solo founder, being able to ask ask questions and sort of bounce ideas around uh, is really helpful. And use it a lot for content, not for content creation, but for sort of outlining, identifying themes or patterns in things, especially when working off of like interview transcripts. Being able to build a custom GPT around that context is really helpful.
Okay, so this is falling in everyone's tech stack review, obviously some AI. So this is now my favorite question. What's your like most useful prompt you found?
Uh, Give me ways to improve this, right?
Okay.
Either extract. I think that the way that I generally try to use AI is very much as a co-pilot, rather than asking it to do anything from scratch. So
Right.
generally, sort of, you have the context. Give me ideas for directions that I could go to improve this, right? Or like, here's the outcome that I'm trying to reach. What are optimizations that I could make to this outcome? I like use a lot of examples and then try to get ChatGPT to do sort of pattern matching against those examples, and then give
Hmm.
ideas that will be helpful for sort of unblocking me on the
Right.
next thing.
Okay. I love it. Number one.
Number one, kind of vanilla, I guess, but Notion. Use Notion
Okay.
for absolutely everything. But everything from like I write a lot in Notion because the interface is good on both mobile and desktop. Formatting options are good, but also because you can structure data so well in Notion, you can run a lot of automation on top of it, and keep things organized that way. So yeah, my whole business life is in Notion basically.
I love that. All right. So that's your review. I want to shift focus a little bit and talk about what you're hearing in industry, or what you're most excited about from a tech stack aspect.
Yeah, I think for me the big thing, which is probably not a uncommon answer right now, is where AI is heading from a sort of deeper integration and workflow perspective. I
Hmm.
think sort of more vertical use case applications, like finding ways to give AI context and then sort of do pieces of processes more autonomously, and then like loop me in when it's time for review or editing. Like I think taking out uh, time consuming steps
Right.
is really interesting.
Mm.
Definitely curious to see where that goes, especially on the content side. I think there is a lot of like, I don't want to call it misuse, but like poor application of AI. So I think that that's sort of the part that I'm most excited about, is anything that sort of lowers the barrier to providing your own context, building more of a sort of bespoke model around your own stuff, and then sort of defining a framework that gets you to more repeatable outcomes with AI. I think is the interesting stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how quick. I mean, it seems like everything that you look at is has changed by the next time you look at it. So
Yeah, I agree.
it's going to be interesting to see how quickly some of the stuff shifts. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's interesting seeing more of the voice stuff. I personally not particularly excited about like the AI being the voice, but certainly continuing
Right.
to use you know using voice as an input to AI is definitely interesting.
Okay.
Excited to see how that continues to take shape.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you said, everyone is really interested to see how this affects their time to market and value. And
Yeah,
I love that you touched on earlier, just it has to be your co-pilot though. Like it still needs some direction, but what are the busy work can it take out that is eliminating time? So,
yeah.
what are you personally working on right now?
Yeah, so I'm building Connected GTM, which is a newsletter really right now, playbooks for the HubSpot ecosystem, and starting to work more with, so both introducing sort of app partners and sort of more transparency around like how integrations and things in the HubSpot ecosystem actually work, but also starting to work on sort of broader playbooks around go to market in the ecosystem. A lot of stuff that I've sort of been doing for the last 3 years, but trying to get better about documenting and building a more repeatable motion around like how do you actually go execute on that stuff, as much as you can make go to market repeatable because it always changes.
Right. Right. You're like, well, this worked for one person, but probably doesn't work for
Yeah,
someone else. And where can I shift? But the framework, at least,
yeah. I
is
think the
there.
principles still apply for sure.
Right. Okay. Um, what would be your advice to other leaders when choosing a tech stack?
Keep it simple first. Like you don't have to solve all your problems on day one, I guess, is the sort of first thing. And then I think sort of in partnership with that is like, what are the things that are going to enable you to leverage your own data the best? Like, ultimately, I think in this sort of, as AI becomes more of a mainstream thing, the highest leverage opportunities are going to be using your own data more effectively and figuring out how do we build a more connected tech stack that actually makes it possible to leverage our own data with
Right.
AI is going to be critical. And I think just the more tools, or certainly the more disconnected tools that you introduce, the harder that job is going to be, both from a general like cost maintenance, total cost of
Right.
ownership type perspective, but also from a opportunity cost on not being able to identify and like leverage efficiencies with AI.
That makes sense. Um, Really insightful, really helpful. Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts or anything before we sign off?
No, I mean, I think that I'm. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to see. I think we're in a very interesting spot right now. I
Hmm.
think there are a lot of things that are sort of making this transition from. Uh, there's been a like an old way of doing things, and there's sort of a new way of doing things, and we're sort of right in the transition of a lot of things where the old way just is fundamentally broken in for the sort of environment that it's trying to operate in. And at the same time,
Hmm.
we have all this movement on, especially on the AI stuff. And I think it's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting to see what goes from like what actually makes the leap from cool demo to impactful for a business.
I agree. I mean, I feel like the first tech bubble was led by VCs, like the early Apple, Microsoft days, and then the last tech bubble in like 2015, 2016, you really have like that digital transformation where tech is becoming so adoptable to everyone. And so this one, I'm like, obviously is going to be driven by AI, with tighter money and tighter restrictions on funding.
Yeah.
So I also feel like we're in this like weird limbo or almost like plateau of where we go next. So,
Yeah, I think the big opportunity is in being able to scale and grow a company differently, right? So to your point about the VC driven bubble, like the thing that is exciting, I think, with AI is the opportunity to do way more with way less, and not from a like let's make this super efficient and
right.
put people out of jobs perspective, but you can just move much faster. You can ideate and iterate much more quickly. So I think that's probably where the gap's going to open up, right? Is like the companies that are able to adopt are just going to move faster and like open up a gap against those that are trying to do everything the way that it has worked.
Right. Totally agree. Well, thank you so much. This was super insightful. And I'm excited to keep watching Connected GTM and watch your pathway grow and see what 2025 has in store.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Let's shuffle up and show me your tech stack, where every episode is a high stakes reveal of the tools that are aces in our guest book, where chips are down and digital decks are on the table. Are you ready for the best in class tech? Let's deal these cards and see what comes up. Who's ready to double down on digital innovation with me?